Hello everybody, how are you all doing? So, welcome back to another session of me and my friend, Strange Boy Jim, of learning Unreal Engine 4. We're going to do when we left off. I'm just waiting on him to close down his Pega session. For those interested over on YouTube, he does do Pega programming. More like he's doing the certification for it. For anyone that's interesting. But right now, wait while he closes down that, so we can get started with the Unreal part together, since we do plan on doing something together. And while I wait, well, might as well sell out. Down in the description below, you will find a link to the Pogger shop, where you can get energy mixes, leak mixes, and shakers. And if you use Clear Gold Blackheart, you can get a 10% discount on your purchase. Just give me about that. And okay, let me have a quick look at what he's up to. Okay, he's closing down on the Pega. Let's actually listen in a little bit. And okay, there we go. Hopefully, audio is good. Oh, right, I need to get the desktop audio working. I forget that I always mute that when I end my streams. It's probably getting everything ready for the Unreal one, so we can get started on that. I didn't have time today to kind of fix the Unreal capture. I was busy doing other stuff with my family. So hopefully for tomorrow I can figure out why about the Unreal capture. If anyone has a suggestion that does this sort of things, then let me know down below. So whenever there's like tiny pop out, it doesn't cover the entire. It doesn't like overrule the capture of the entire screen. I tried using screen capture, but for some reason it bugs out and freezes the screen capture. It just doesn't work for some reason. I don't know why. So I have to use a different kind of capture that unfortunately does that. If I do full like capture of my monitor, you actually be able to see everything, of which I kind of don't want to do that. Like if I open Discord, you'll actually be able to see Discord, and I want that to be possible. And I don't have a second monitor to move that off to a side. If I had a second monitor, I would just make a capture everything on that, and that would be fine. But don't have. Oh, there he is.
Let's see. Let's close down. Headset audio's on. Invite Blackheart to speak. And we are active. Yay!
Hello there. How you doing?
Not bad. Yourself?
I'm doing okay.
Sorry about the late arrival there.
No problem. Just a few minutes.
Yeah. Pega took a little bit longer. A lot of the explanations were like, or at least I was covering a fairly difficult topic on the Pega certification, so I was like, oh boy, okay.
No problems.
Yeah. That potentially might happen, my friend, so be prepared for, there may be days where I might be late on this. And
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Matter of fact, it may occur a little bit sooner, as some topics are going to be some that are like, they say are like 10 to 15 minutes long, but with everything like they cover in there, it's like it tends to take me like an hour and a half to get through it all, so it can be a little rough. But intro, let me do that.
Go ahead.
Welcome everybody to our studying of the Unreal Engine. We are currently using 4.27 due to hardware limitations. So if you're like going, what about Unreal 5? That's why.
Yeah, Unreal Engine 5 is quite demanding on hardware.
Yeah, so So that's the reasoning behind the lower version right at this point in time, which is should be perfectly fine with, you know, if you give us grief, then okay, bye.
Yeah, there's still people
uh,
using Unreal Engine 4 because of that very reason, because of how demanding the newer
yeah,
version is.
yeah, exactly. So, um, but you know, maybe someday, you know, we'll upgrade, but that's later.
Yeah, later down the
You
line
know,
when we have money.
yeah, exactly. You know, if we you know find ourselves with a top selling game somewhere down the line, and you know we can actually afford getting you a brand new computer, then you know, grand, you know, fantastic. Then we'll move on at that point. But for now, um, 4.27 it will have to do.
Yep.
Um, Yesterday we studied a little bit of the quick start, but we didn't get very far. We were just kind of explaining the plans for why we're wanting to use Unreal Engine and all that. So if you missed out on that, then you can check out our past live streams, or I'll be putting the videos up on YouTube in shortly. So
Yeah, and I
you can
also have a
always,
playlist of what on my side for every one of my streams as well.
yeah,
Yeah, we also explored a bit on how to control the camera on the Unreal Engine. There were some slight difference from Unity, but beyond that, there are some similarities.
yeah. The one that we didn't get to yesterday was the orbit dolly and track portion um, of the studying session. So um, here, uh, one
Yeah,
second. I need to bring up your stream so that I can kind of you know, keep an eye on what you're doing there. So
yeah. I didn't have time to
uh,
mess too much with the capture since I was a little busy earlier today.
yeah. So okay, gonna go ahead and open up the, you know, our previous work, which we didn't really do anything, but you know,
Mostly figure out how the camera works.
yeah. Um, so let me bring up the. Okay, now Chrome is not happy with where I'm pointing at. There we go. All right, so um, matter of fact, let me go ahead and kind of reduce this down a bit. It might be a little hard to read, but I mean, at least you guys will kind of see, um, you know, see where I'm at per se. If you're watching my stream, obviously, if you're watching on a phone, then it might be a little rough. But we're currently at the orbit, dolly, and track. We didn't get to the create new level yet. So,
No.
wanted to kind of cover this first before we kind of moved on. So, um,
Yeah, which will be quick. It's just holding
yeah,
Alt and using another left or right or middle click to control the camera
yeah,
differently.
yeah. Unreal Editor supports a Maya style pan, orbit, and zoom viewport controls, making it much easier for Maya artists to jump into the tool. So that's very handy. If you're used to Maya, um, then the fact that they added in that particular style of controls is um, uh, very nice for, you know, bringing in, you know, if you have artists that you wanted to bring into the project as well, and they want to like transfer something that they built on Maya into Unreal Engine, then there you go. You know, you have the same style of controls. So um, now for this, I wanted to see. So here's the Alt and left click, Alt and right click, and Alt and middle click. Oop, yeah, ah, fuck. It's not really. I'm kind of moving left and right, and it's not really doing anything with the alt.
Yeah, it's like it's an alternative of other controls that we were already using.
Yeah.
Like we can do the same without pressing the alt. Like
Yeah.
the except for of course the orbit. The orbit they
Yeah.
need to hold alt. That one I don't recall it being showing us without it how to use that.
Yeah. Alright. Well, shall we move on?
Yep. This will
Okay.
be jumping over into creating
A
a new
new
level.
level. Next, we will create a new level that we will use to build our game environment in. While there are several different ways in which you can create a new level, we will use the file menu method, which lists level selection options. So inside the Unreal Editor, click the File menu option and then select New Level. So
Alright, now let me
File
first
and New
do
Level.
something real quick. Where the hell is it?
Let me know when you're ready. Or is there something that you need help with?
No, I'm trying to change the language back to English because for some reason it put me on default Spanish.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if
It's
that's
still
something
in the
that you're
same
comfortable,
spot, pretty much.
yeah.
It
And
already
you know
went
that
there.
that could be potentially helpful for anybody that can only read Spanish too. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
So
Okay. So in default.
of
There we
course,
go.
if you want, actually, if you want to use your native tongue, you're welcome to as well, my friend. But obviously, I'll be like, I don't know what you just said.
It's not showing me the option anywhere, so I'll do that next time. I didn't have time today to do anything beforehand. I mean,
No,
I got back like 10 minutes before starting stream, so.
understandable. Understandable. Okay. Um. So, you've opened up your new level.
Yep.
Okay. The new level will open up a dialog window where you see default, time of day, VR basic, and empty level. The default level includes some of the commonly used assets for constructing levels. The VR basic level includes some assets for constructing levels with the VR editor, which we're probably never gonna get to, or at least, you know, I'm, seeing that I don't have hardware for the VR, I'm assuming that you don't either there,
Nope.
Blackheart. We're probably never gonna be touching anything concerning VR. At least right right now. Maybe later on, maybe we'll change a game into a VR experience later. I mean, not unreasonable, but we would need to have VR equipment to test it.
Yeah.
You know,
Something
um,
that we don't have.
yeah. So once again, maybe something for later, but for right now, probably something that we won't be seeing anytime soon. Not to say that we can't go back to it, but that's for future endeavors. So, and empty level is a completely blank level with no assets. For the purposes of this guide, we are going to start from scratch with a completely blank slate. Click the empty level and to select it. They didn't mention anything about time of day on this.
Nope.
That's kind of unfortunate. I'm assuming that time of day is probably same as default, but now you have a day-night cycle in the default. That's what I'm gonna assume.
I'm guessing that
But
creates a like a sky dome with a hovering light, like to simulate the sun.
well, you would need to have a rotating light source as the sun. That
Yeah,
you know
that time they might actually add that by default.
right, right, exactly. But the you know, I'm assuming based off of the fact that they're showing like the default stage, as a platform there. That's why I'm saying, you could have a default without a time of day, or if you need a time of day in your game, like you're planning on doing a day-night cycle for your game, then maybe, that might be something that you want to use. Um, but then again, not every game needs a day-night cycle. Like some games, like they what is it? 7 Days to Die, I think, a zombie horror
Yeah.
survival game. Um, that uses a day-night cycle.
Yes.
Okay. So you'd probably want to maybe start off with something like that. The time of day.
Yeah, it
As
would make sense to start with that because it'll save you a step of programming the movement of the
exactly
sun.
right. I mean, there's still probably some details that you still might want to change in your game. Like, hey, maybe you want a faster day than night.
Yeah, you
Or
only
maybe
have to change the speed in which it moves.
right. But I mean, there's things that you can probably, that you should be able to modify in the time of day um, stage. But um, but I'm sure that they give you the tools to do that. It's you know,
Yeah, my guess is gonna
uh,
be like something similar to Unity, where you select it on the world outliner, and you see the options down below it. And there you can select the speed or something. That's only a
yeah,
theory, since I haven't messed with that. But that is what's most likely going to be.
yeah. I mean, if they're giving you the tools for that, like right off right at the start, then that works. Now, obviously, you may want to go like, hey, it's never going to be night, so I'm just going to keep it with day. I mean, that should also be an option. You're going to have a sun that will always be high in the sky, and there you go. You know, mm, you could do that if you
Yeah,
wanted to,
yeah.
but
Another alternative
why?
that I can think of is you use that the time of day one, but you set the speed to zero and adjust the lighting where you feel it fits the level, and
Right.
it just never moves
Like
from there.
you can always have it like a dusk looking level, like the sun is always like low on the horizon, much like the picture is showing, like, hey, everything has that little red tintish glow to it. I mean, you could design a game that, just is like everything's dusk, you could try to do it that way if you wanted to, but it'd be really an interesting looking game if you did. But I mean, they provide you those options, which is nice. So I'm assuming once again that it's probably like a standard default level, just with that time of day added in. So if you don't need a time of day, then you just use a default.
Yeah,
So but they want us to go with the empty level, so we select that, and now we have a nothing on our screen whatsoever.
nope,
You know, so
just an empty
uh,
void.
yep, we finish the step and we move on. Alright, so we're placing actors in the level. So in this step we will begin placing actors, which is interesting that they call it actors, for lights and geometry, but I mean, if that's what they call them, that's what they call them. For example, lights and geometry into our empty level. We will cover the two most common ways of adding actors to a level, through select mode and through the content browser. After completing the step, you will know how to place actors inside your own levels and begin manipulating those actors to create your environment. So, um, again, I find the naming interesting.
Yeah,
Like,
it's odd.
yeah, um, because when you think of an actor, you think of human acting out a scene or something like that. You see a performer, you know, um, like a house wall. I mean, I guess, if you break it right down to the very basic level, then sure, I guess
Yeah,
it's
it's
still
weird.
playing. It's still playing a role. It's still being a wall. So I mean,
It's
I
still
guess.
weird. I feel like
Yeah,
I would still call it for what they are, which are like objects or assets, or once we
yeah,
get to that point, prefabs.
yeah. But I mean, if they call it actors, they call it actors. We'll have to remember that. So like, if they ever say like, make sure to add this actor into the scene, they're not actually saying, hey, bring, pull this human into the scene. No, they're talking about, pulling out like a wall, a
And
chair,
yeah, an
box, whatever.
object, pretty much.
Yeah, some
An
kind of
object.
object. And
Hmm.
so, okay. In the place actors panel on the left, click the geometry category and select the box. So, oh, I keep on selecting the wrong. Here, I need to move my editor a little bit up so that I can kind of see. Actually, gosh,
Yeah, that's something I would also need to figure out once I fix that.
I'm trying to figure out like the placement of everything. So, alright, I guess I'll have to do. Okay, so we have geometry and we have box. Uh, I clicked you select the box. Okay, so we're just selecting the box. We haven't like dragged it into the field or anything along those lines. So,
Nope.
so left click and drag the box into the level viewport. So we're just dragging that, moving it here, and bam, there you go.
Yep.
Oh, excuse me, I need to
Go ahead and
leave.
sneeze. Once you release the left mouse button, the box is added to the level. In the details panel, lower right window of the editor, with the box still selected, set location, rotate, and rotation to 0. Okay. So let's see. Rotation's already 0.
Sorry about that. So,
This is location for me
um,
because the Spanish is saying it slightly
okay.
different.
So hold on 1 second. Let me catch up to you. So in the details panel, lower right window of the editor, with the box still selected, select location and rotation all to 0. So um, okay, so location and rotation. We want 0 for the location.
And rotation's already 0 by default.
Yeah. But it's best to kind of do that anyway if they're like, saying, hey, keep this, you know, because you never know, like, maybe you have a slight rotation to it, for some reason. So
Yeah, I think
better
we'll have to
to,
deal with that once we get to prefabs and things like that.
yeah. Okay, set the scale to 44 and 0.01. So 4, 4, and point 0.1. So now we have ourselves basically a flat
Oops,
plane.
just a sec.
We will use this as the floor on which the player can walk around. Okay, you good?
Yeah,
Okay. On the Place Actors panel, select the Lights tab, and then drag and drop a directional light into the level on top of the floor. So, lights, um, it was directional,
yeah, directional light.
and put it on the floor.
It's on the floor.
Um, how do you know it's on top of the floor, though? That's what I'm kind of curious about it. But
Well, by moving the camera a little bit, you can see it's like slightly off of the floor. It's all camera angles.
yeah. Alright, WSD's not. Wait, what was it? How do we move with WASD again? Hold on.
Mm,
Hold right mouse button to use the WSD game style controls, which is weird. Okay, there it goes.
must be because of the other shortcuts that it might have.
Well, I had to deselect the light.
I actually still have selected. I just held the right mouse button and I could move with the WSAD. And I still have it selected.
It wasn't allowing me for a second there. But
were you holding the right mouse button?
Yep. So that's a little weird, but whatever. We move on.
Yep, let's move on.
Okay. On the translation tool, click and drag the Z-axis blue on the gyro gizmo up away from the surface of the floor.
Yeah, that would be the arrows that are visible on the object.
Yeah, so you're just basically clicking on the blue and you're just kind of dragging it up. So
yep.
Although
doesn't really say how high, so I'll just pick a random height.
Yeah. I would imagine that you probably want to try to maybe get it towards the center of the room as much as you can. But I guess it doesn't really matter if they're, depending on where you want the light to be at. Like you could have the light be at like one side of the room and cast shadows or something like that if you really wanted it to. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I guess that's once we get to when we can set which direction the light's actually going.
Yeah. If the directional light becomes unselected, you can reselect it by left-clicking on it in the level viewport. I mean, you can, but you can also just kind of click on it directly, and that should. But if it's like
once there's a lot of more stuff, it's better to go to the world outliner and select it there, so that you don't accidentally select something else.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's always the most advisable thing to do.
Yeah. So if you can see it and you can click it easily, then that should be fine. But like you said, if there's there's too many actors in the viewer, then you might screw something up. So
yeah. And when it comes to prefabs, even if you select something, it might not select the whole prefab, but one element of it.
Yeah. Okay. And so after that,
okay.
In the Place Actors panel, select the Visual Effects tab and drag and drop an atmospheric fog into the level. So we want to go to Visual Effects. And then we want to add a atmospheric fog, which is unfortunate because my window is not really showing too much information right at this moment in time. Let me open that. Let me widen the screen, that window up a little bit more so I can kind of see this.
There we go. I'm gonna put it there for now.
Atmospheric fog, and there we go. The atmospheric fog actor will add a basic sky to the level, and the level will become illuminated instead of dark. So there you go. Interesting that they call it atmospheric fog. But I mean, you know, just something to remember later. Like, hey, if you want sky, you need to use the atmospheric fog
Like that's one
instead of
alternative, unless you have a sky globe or sky dome. That's the other alternative. In
yeah,
this case, this is the basic of the basic, and using the fog to kind of generate an illusion of a sky.
yeah. I'm just kind of curious what the difference is between, you know, atmospheric fog and say the sky atmosphere. You know, what's the difference between those two? But you know, we may figure. You know, they'll probably explain it to us later.
See, the
This
fog's
is
more
just
like a
basically,
visual effect more than an actual sky.
yeah. Well, you know, they'll most likely explain it to us later, so we don't
Hopefully.
necessarily need for it. You know, they're just kind of showing us how to go about doing this, not necessarily kind of explaining what these are. Once they you know, they'll get to a point where they will tell us, you know, what they are later. You know, so at least I hope they do.
I hope so.
In the place actors panel, select the basic tab and drag and drop a player start into the level. So basic
Here it is.
and then player start into the level. Which be careful here because the player start could be high off the ground. So if you want them close to the floor, then you're probably going to want them. Probably going to want to try to put it as close to the floor or on the floor as you can.
Yeah,
So
it does show up with like an outline, so I'm guessing that that would be, say, the size of what the player would be.
right,
So we won't I don't think you would necessarily want the middle spot on the ground, more like the bottom of that outline should be closest to the ground as possible.
well, I mean, the outline would most likely be like the character's hitbox or something like that,
Pretty
or you
much.
know, the area for it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that um, the um, that's where the character's legs are going to be. Okay, because
Yeah, that'll depend on the character design itself.
yeah, yeah. So now I can understand like if they decide like you know you have that lower circle there right before it starts like curving on the bottom. You know that might be like the
The
you know the
feet.
character's floor, you might say. You know where the feet might be, right? Um, um, and I would assume that you can also modify this particular wireframe to kind of fit with what you want anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
This is just like a basic.
Like
Well, I
modifying the
mean,
scale itself might help you like adjust it to your character.
this is meant for just the player start. Okay. This doesn't necessarily mean that it represents the player itself, just where they're where they pop in at. Okay. So so depending on it might be dependent on uh where exactly is the point on where the character is spawned. That's something that you have to kind of take into consideration, kind of thing. Is the spawn like right dead center? Are they spawning um at the very bottom um
It's mostly gonna be on the
of the
center.
cylinder?
It's most like it
It
will make more sense to be at the center of it.
most likely, but again, we don't really know. Um, we'll figure. Once again, we'll figure it out. They're just basically saying, hey, here's the player spawn. Set it up. You know, in the playing field, and we'll move on from there. So, um, but that's something that we'll deal with, a little bit later. So. In the Place Actors panel, select the Volumes tab and drag and drop a light mass importance volume into the level. The light mass importance volume is used to control and concentrate lighting and shadowing effects within the volume. When placing the light mass importance volume in the level, the default size of the volume does not cover our playable area, so we will need to scale it up. Okay. Used to control and concentrate lighting and shadowing effects within the volume. Interesting. Okay. So, sorry, let me get back into this. So the volumes tab.
Light mass importance volume. Come on, what now? Where is that thing showing up from now? There it is.
Okay, so I'm kind of moving it away from the player start, just to kind of show like the differences in size and stuff like that. So there's no real overlap, but inside the level viewport, press R to switch to the scale tool. So now here, press R to go to the scale tool. Click and drag the white box at the center of the scale tool so that the light mass importance volume encapsulates the floor.
There it is.
So just to kind of show what's going on here. There we go. Move it over this way a little bit more so it's kind of centered. Let's switch back to R. As you
Okay, now the direction of my light, the top in one of the sides is being lit up while the rest has nothing but a shadow. The sides are a bit thin, so it's kinda hard to like tell. But at least in this angle that I'm setting it, you can kind of see where the shadow is and where the light's actually coming from on the object.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me see what you're looking at. Okay.
The light's coming from this side, and this is shadow. If I move my camera around, the bottom's nothing but a shadow. The other side is our shadows.
Let's see. Okay. I see what you're doing now. Okay, hold on.
Move it around to show how it is.
So
Now the whole thing is being affected by light.
yeah, so Blackheart's kind of showing the fact that the light is, because the light source is on top of the platform, if we,
Yeah, and the light
around,
mass importance volume is now covering it.
Yeah. The light is kind of showing the fact that you have shadows now. Which is kind of interesting that over here on one of the sides it's quite lit up, but yet on the other parts of the box,
that is because,
it's
according to the
shadows,
source, the
so
light's coming from this one side on my case. I will need to edit the light direction. Like right now, there's an arrow showing the light's coming down like this. So it's not gonna hit the other three sides at all, just the frontal side and the top.
Yeah,
I will need to
which
edit
make
the directional light to light up any of the other sides.
yeah, which they haven't covered yet. But
Nope.
I mean, it's still one of those things where it's like, interesting. Bear in mind, as Blackheart was talking about, for those in the audience, you see the directionals pointing out down in that direction, so that's why you have the, you know, even though the light source is, technically, right above the plane there, it's still kind of affecting the entire box. So that's why you have, the light hitting the edge here and lighting it up and putting the
Yeah,
rest
I
of
don't
the
think it's
edges in
counting
shadow.
as a light source, more like telling the light you move this way, regardless of its location.
Well, the box itself is basically saying the light source is all within this box. So, for example, if I was to say select the box and like maybe move it, then I should be. I don't know. I'm still seeing I'm still seeing light on one side of the
Yeah, that's because that
edge
thing
there.
isn't the light source. The directional light is not the light source. It's more telling the light source, wherever it is, this is how you need to react. This is where you need to direct the light.
Well, that's all well and good, but
The
the
box
fact
is
that I
telling,
moved.
all the box is telling the light mass volume is the objects within this box are going to be affected by light.
Right, but anything that should be outside of the box, even if it's part of the box, shouldn't. That's my point. Okay. So the fact that, okay, so, sure, this actor is inside this box right at this moment in time. It is being affected by light. Okay, but here's the thing. Portions of that are outside the box might have something else affecting it. So or should might have they might want to have some other kind of glow or lighting happening to like like another portion of the box, right? Or to the actor of the box, right? So um so I may want to have that volume, the light mass importance volume, on one side of the box, with various lighting effects, and another light mass importance volume affecting the other side. Um, and you know, one would hope that the edge on this box would change based off of like that secondary light mass importance volume. The fact
Hmm.
that the edge here is still being affected by this light source within the light mass importance volume is throwing me off, because what
It
happens
is weird.
when you have two conflicting light mass importance volumes in the same act for the same actor? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, So like for example, you maybe, for parts of it, sure, you might want to have it all lit up, but maybe on one side of it you might want to have like a reddish glow. That doesn't affect the rest of the box. Well, if this light source is hitting this entire object no matter what, then what happens when you try to add a red glow on there? Does it not work? Does it try to combine the two into one? Which, again, you might not want that to happen. That kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's a little weird. It's a little weird, but something we'll have to worry about a little bit later.
I guess we'll get to when we start adding light sources.
Yeah. when we add like more than one light source, they may explain it more. So, um, but for right now, I just wanted to kind of point that out, the fact that, I moved the volume beyond the edge of the box, and the light source is still affecting that edge. So it's still providing the light there, even though, it's outside of the light mass importance volume. You would think that it would. Well, here, let me remove the. Uh, Let me see about removing the light mass importance volume. Um,
Don't know.
Let me delete it. Okay. The light mass importance volume did not change um, the effects on it. I removed the light mass importance volume, and I'm
Weird.
still seeing the same kind of, um, shadows and all that kind of jazz on the box itself. So light mass importance volume appears to have no effect the overall shadows and all that jazz um, on the box itself. So,
Says it concentrates lights and shadow effects within the volume, so I guess we'll know once we start adding objects and how it'll affect it. Oh, come on. Don't give me random pop-ups.
yeah, so the light source itself is already affecting the box itself. So, um, uh, so, um, so lighting and shadowing effects will, like you said, hopefully we'll see what it does maybe when we add additional um, actors to it. So, um, light mass importance volume encapsulates the 4, which we did. Okay, inside the content browser under content, starter content props, drag and drop the SM table round into the level. So, um, hold on, let me move my screen here so that I can kind of see this a little bit. So inside the content browser, under content, starter content, and props, drag what? The SM table
SM
round.
table round.
So that is. Lighting needs to be rebuilt. One unbuilt object. Disable all screen messages to suppress. Okay, interesting. Try to place the table at the center of the floor using the move tool. Press W if it is not selected. So press W. Try to move it to the center of the room. Which is kind of center for the most part, I guess. There we go. Okay. Also under the content starter content props, drag and drop SM chair into the level. So SM chair. with the SM chair selected inside the viewer level viewport, press E to access the rotation tool. Okay, so we have R, W, and E. Okay, that's fairly, well, that's fairly close to the WSD controls, so that
Yeah.
should be relatively easy to use on a regular basis. So we want to use E to have the rotation tool, and then we can kind of rotate the chair. And then we have the move tool that we can just kind of move it closer to the table if we need to, and there we go. Now, it's already kind of showing a little bit of a shadow effect already, but, you know, uh, just kind of give an idea as to what it's all about, so. Okay. Left click and drag the blue axis arc. The gizmo will update to show degrees and rotate the chair to face the table. Use the placement methods above and create a small scene by adding more actors from the modes panel and content browser. Try adding some lights, props, walls, and a roof found under the content starter content architecture folder. So, I mean, we could try to build this entire scene, but I feel like we've got enough to kind of work with right at this moment in time, but at the same time, um, maybe we should uh, consider maybe adding like a wall in or something like that. I don't know what. Well, I mean, our time is about ready to be finished here, so we can
Yeah.
either save it for next time, or maybe we can just maybe build something, in our own time, and we'll come back to it later, or we'll come back to it tomorrow, or we'll just kind of leave what we have now. What do you
That
what do
is
you
just
feel like?
for anyone like to experiment and uh, build something, or it's not really part of the lesson. So it's just it's telling us to experiment with it a little bit to familiarize yourself with how it works. But beyond
Yeah,
that, it's not really mandatory or necessary.
yeah. It might be good for uh, knowing the controls and how put things around and stuff like that, how to rotate things around, how the lighting works and the like. But um, for the most part, I feel like I've kind of already gotten everything that I like. I've worked with like a little bit with Maya and Unity before on this, so this isn't exactly um like super new to me, but
No.
um
No, but when I was
if you
practicing on Unity, I made like a massive bus stop, kind of stylish
yeah,
bus stop.
yeah, in one of their
So
tutorials they
I'm
were doing like a
familiarized with this.
yeah, they did like a 3D game where you were placing like objects all over the place and stuff like that. So this is very similar in style to that already. So I feel like I can probably move on fairly easily.
Yeah, same.
Now, um, the editing actors afterwards, that's probably going to be what I'm going to be most interested in for the most part, because editing actors, I mean, the most, what I'd be, what I'm kind of more interested in is like how, you know, what each one of these are, what each one of these is like concerning kind of thing. Like the light mass importance volume, for example. What exactly does it do kind of thing, right? Um, so here, actually, I'm kind of curious about is if I was to take the chair here and move it to like the edge of the feet of the of the floor, and then I take the light importance volume and say move it beyond, then I see no difference.
Let's see.
The lighting is the same. So that's why I'm like, what is the purpose of the light mass importance volume at this point?
Don't
Be-
really know.
because it's not changing the the lighting in this particular case. You know, you get what I'm saying here, right? It's like,
Yeah, it's weird.
if the lighting is supposed to be like, if the lighting and shadow is supposed to be like the concentrations within the light mass importance volume, used to control and concentrate lighting and shadowing effects within this volume, then, but yet the lighting and shadowing effects is already being affected anyway, even outside of the box, then what's the importance of the volume? So that's what I'm kind of curious about. But we may, maybe I'll explain it more later. But that's a question for later. So, but it's 4 o'clock, my friend. You need to go
Yeah, I gotta go
eat.
get myself something to eat.
So, and then we'll be doing Star Rail later. So,
Yep.
but yeah, that's where we're gonna go ahead and close on down here. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and mark this particular topic as finished for placing actors in the level. Um, I'm gonna need to kind of see. Maybe I will try to add some more actors later off stream, um, to see what I can do about like maybe adding like another light, like do this building and then create another light source inside the building and see what happens with the overall shadows. What happens there. So, um, and then I will see about like maybe moving the box around again. Um, but or maybe you want to maybe do that tomorrow,
Mm,
or do you
well,
want to, or do you feel like we should kind of move on from that and hope that they may address it later.
I feel like they will eventually address it.
Okay. So we'll leave the light mass importance volume alone for now and figure out what the heck that's all about at a later time. Um, I mean, I guess if anybody has any like comments about it or something like that, they can probably definitely put that into the
Yeah,
comment
if
section.
someone knows a little bit more about it
Yeah,
on YouTube, leave it down in the comments below. Maybe you can explain it
yeah,
to us a little better. Maybe we're missing something.
yeah. I mean, they haven't explained it, but
No.
I put in the keyword yet. You
Yeah.
know, um, I mean, we're really, like I said, we're at the quick start. We're not even getting into the meat and potatoes of it. It's just kind of showing us the basics of it. So, you know, um, you know, why they wanted us to put this in there when clearly we're not really seeing any kind of difference, I don't really know. But it feels as though they're basically saying, "Hey, this is important. You should add it in." Why? Don't know. That's something that they'll have to explain later. So, and I hope that they do explain it later because obviously this tells me nothing.
Yep.
So, all right, but that's it. Um, let's go ahead and close on down, my friend. So I will speak with you next time.
Yep.
Um, here, let me. Uh, switch on over to webcam here. There we go. Yeah, feel free to stop on by for discussions for Star Rail if you want, but obviously we're probably going to be doing a lot of different like world quests and stuff like that along those lines.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording for this video so people don't, you know, yeah. Okay. And for anybody that's still here, then thank you for, you know, sticking with us on that. But yeah, for later on tonight, then, you know, feel free to stop on by if you want, or my friend. But if, you know, I know that it can get a little confusing at times when we're like maybe saying different dialogues at different times. And
Yeah, and I am a
uh,
bit ahead of you on some of the stuff.
yeah. So, um, so yeah, no worries on that. If anything, but if there's anything that you might want to discuss as well, you know, you're welcome to stop on by the stage again.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay.
All right, my friend. You have yourself a good night. Enjoy your food.
Yeah, I'm gonna go make myself some food right now. So,
Sounds good.
okay.
Okay. And I'm going to go and get myself, you know, a little bit more to drink there, folks. A lot of talking can uh, make you really dehydrated. So,
Yeah.
um,
So it's nice
so
to
I'm
have a
gonna
little bottle on the side.
exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick break. Then we'll go into, you know, or at least, you know, for me, we'll go into video uploads or just chatting for the most part, and then later for Star Rail. So
Yeah, and I'll be closing down on my side, but I meteor shower someone for the meantime. So
sounds good, my friend.
I'll be coming back in about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, depending on how long it takes me to make my snack.
Indeed,
Okay.
indeed. All right, my friend.
All right.
Have a good night.
You too. See ya.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, there we go. I left his little stage now. I am, like I said, gonna close down on this stream. This where that volume importance thing. I don't really get it. I was just messing around with making something just now. Although I didn't really like how it was turning out. I'll probably delete most of it. And I'll probably mess with that off stream, mainly because of the next steps does look like it uses like making something. I don't really know. Just so looks like it'll have us building an actual level eventually. But that'll most likely it's gonna be for next time. Anyways, let me open VStream real quick. There it is. And meteor shower someone so you guys can see maybe something maybe a little more interesting than me, because like I said, I'm just getting started with Unreal. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm not used to Unreal Engine like that. Importance volume lighting thing. I've never actually seen that before. Unity didn't have something like that. I don't recall it using something like that before. I didn't have to mess with that, so I don't really get what its purpose is. For those on YouTube, if you do understand it, and maybe leave it down in the comments below, explain what its purpose really is. I do want you to learn to use Unity properly, and hopefully Jim and I can start our own little project, which of course we're most likely going to stream making that project. Now let's see, there's several people available right now to meteor shower. Let's see, someone's... Okay, there's no tags. I don't recognize this. This is Alisa, but I don't recognize this. Definitely a classic game. Let's see, who else is on? Ooh, we got somebody doing a horror game. Stuck in the Labyrinth, that's his title. That sounds like it might be a bit of fun. So let's go ahead and we are in the month of horror, so I might as well send you guys to someone playing something probably spooky. I mean, it looks like it's spooky, and he's only got one viewer, so what the hell? Let's give this
Oh
person
no,
some
it
attention. Oh,
turned.
right. I forgot to mute my desktop. Joey King. And once I do this, I'm going to go make myself something to eat. There we go. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed your stream. Like I said, over on YouTube, let me know when it comes out to explain that those parts we didn't understand. And hopefully, Vision will get some comments function at some point. Hopefully. So, again, I'll be back in about an hour and a half for Honkai Star Rail. So I hope to see you guys then. Bye bye.